Well, hi there guys, and welcome to episode 4 of the Dauntless discussion, where we talk about everything Dauntless. This episode is titled All Quiet on the Dauntless Front. However, despite that, we've actually got a lot of information to dive into and a lot of topics to explore. Before we get started though, I'd like to wish a warm welcome to two guests we're going to... Oh, just a sec. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, if we could all wish a warm welcome to two guests we're going to have on the show today to help me go over some of the things we're going to discuss. Firstly, to GioEra, who has a brilliant YouTube channel which covers all sorts of Dauntless content. And then to PheonixArtea, who's one of my guildmates and a Dauntless veteran. So what are we going to cover in today's episode? Well, the Dauntless developers finally released a devlog after about a month of radio silence. And in this devlog, they talk about the big update coming in the summer and how we're going to be progressing our weapons and armour and how sales are going to be changed forever. And we also get more details and information about how legendary weapons, for example the Silver Sword, are also going to change. Following this, and into the next section of the podcast, I'd like to talk about Project Crudge, the new behemoth that is most likely coming to the Shattered Isles this summer. So we'll take this opportunity to look into Project Crudge in a bit more detail. And finally, in the last section of this podcast, I'd like to talk about what we enjoy about Dauntless, what brings us back in some of our favourite memories. So, without further ado, let's get started. So let's just dive right into things. It's been all quiet on the Dauntless front, and I don't say that lightly. We have had complete radio silence from the developers on all platforms. There's been no updates, there's been no AMAs, there has been no information on any of their social medias whatsoever. Looking at the community hub, there was once a time where this thing was full of information, from projects they were working on, to future plans, to other things they had in their backlog and really wanted to return to. However, as you can see here, all their eggs are in one basket, with all their focus going towards this big update coming in the summer, as they're only sharing devblogs, AMAs, and future plans for devlogs. Nothing much else. And as you can see here, for the whole of this year up until summer, if this community hub and the radio silence from their social medias is anything to go by, we can expect very, very little for Dauntless until this big update. And I know they did warn us that there was not a lot to be expected until the big update, but my god, I didn't know it was going to be this quiet. It's a little bit concerning because you can only imagine the player base is dwindling further and further the more time that goes by. I definitely feel like something is needed to be added to the game in the meantime before this big update to create a little bit of excitement and a reward of sorts for the more dedicated players out there. But anyway, just as I was losing all hope that there was going to be any form of update in January, on the 31st of January we got another devblog with updates on what's to come in the summer. Now in this podcast series we've talked about many new things that are coming to the game, such as weapon swapping, to new progression systems, to world maps, new fauna, legendary unique behemoths, so many different things. And it looks like this devblog they're talking about weapons and weapon gear progression. And we have looked at, weapons, specifically more like weapon swapping. We've looked at the new buff system. Yes. But this looks like it's going to be a bit more specific on how we progress with our weapons and gear moving forward. Moving away from the old Reforged system. So, hey Slayers, welcome to the 5th installment of our Shattered Isles devlog. Today we share more details on how weapons and gear progression will change to create more unique gear options in Dauntless. Where are we now? Today in Dauntless, each weapon has a small amount of progression through reforging, but improving your Slayer's capabilities comes mostly by crafting new weapons with different perks and sell slots. Additionally, each weapon of a particular type, such as sword and hammer, functions nearly the same. The Embermane sword and the Hellion sword, for example, aren't very different in terms of gameplay experience. This has led to a couple of issues, limited playstyle options and a clear best choice in almost every scenario. Every time we release a new sword, it has to be better than the previous swords, otherwise there's no real reason to craft it. Where are we going? We want gear choice to be about how you want to play. The weapons you choose as a Slayer should have a notable impact on your Slayer's kit. Each individual weapon should have its own approach to combat, characters and place in the world, a lot like current exotic weapons. So with major updates later this year, we are investing in deeper individual weapon progression, so that each weapon you craft has a unique set of attacks, combos, abilities and talents. In return, lanterns will no longer have their own ability, but will instead house your equipment omnicell. So let's look at two examples. The Silver Sword. The updated version of this weapon can deal large amounts of AoE damage, with icy attacks and generate shields for teammates within reach of its frosty abilities. The Silver Sword is all about applying consistent pressure and resistance. Combos, such as the element's Frost, the special is the Silver Wind, where you spin dealing damage to nearby enemies, reactivate it for a final slash. The passive is the Warden's Protection, shields you generate are stronger, and the active is the Frozen Shrine. You create a broad patch of ice that deals continuous damage. The other weapon example is the Hunger. The updated version of this weapon is high risk, high reward. Feast mode keeps your own health low while empowering the Verge of the Night passive effect. This weapon's reactive portal ability allows wielders to escape danger at the last second. Combos include the Elemental is Umbro. The special is Feast Mode, where you lose health for time, but you gain lifesteal on all attacks. The passive is Verge of the Night, where you gain 2 might at low health. The active is Portal Dive, where you teleport into the air and then crash downwards. You'll notice some familiar and some new abilities in these kits. Some weapons use existing abilities that we thought were important to keep in the Slayer's arsenal, while others will introduce brand new ways to slay. So stay tuned for more updates. Okay, so talented Slayers. To further customise your new weapons, each one has an array of available talents. Each talent can offer a bonus to that weapon's abilities, or a permanent bonus to the Slayer's buffs. For now, Slayers can unlock one talent in each line when that weapon reaches level 10, and additional talents on each line at level 20, 30, 40 and 50. Unlocking a talent will require a variety of Behemoth parts, but once it's unlocked you can switch to it freely while in Ramsgate. While it's possible to unlock every talent, only 3 talents can be active on each talent line at a time. Okay, so leveling up. While level 50 gives you access to all of a weapon's talents, each one can reach level 60 for ultimate power. That's higher than the Dauntless weapons have ever reached before. Plus, each weapon levels individually, not as one of 7 archetypes, so Slayers will need a reliable way to boost newly crafted gear. In the Shattered Isles, completing island events, escalations, trials and gauntlet hunts will award players with aetherite. Patrol chests on other treasure caches may also contain aetherite. This ether charged mineral can be expended to increase the level of any weapon. No, there are no plans to sell aetherite in the Dauntless store. Obviously they're aware that if they added that to the store it would be a pay to win mechanic, so that's good they're not adding it, I guess. The best defense. A good Slayer can't focus only on their weapons. A good set of armour is the best protection against angry behemoths. After this update, each individual piece of armour will increase from level 1 to level 20. With each level, the gear will grant improved perks and a stronger bonus to your resistance. Weapons will increase your power, armour will increase your resistance, and damage you deal and damage you will take will entirely depend on the gear you equip. For example, Fiery Greaves. Level 1 you'll have 10 resistance and 2 prismatic cell slots. Level 10 you'll have 100 resistance, plus 2 pack hunter, plus 1 sprinter, plus 2 prismatic cell slots. Level 20 you'll have 150 resistance, plus 3 pack hunter, plus 2 sprinter and 2 prismatic cells. Okay, so cellular reconstruction, and this is a big one because cells play a huge part in current Dauntless builds, and it looks like they're not going to play that huge part anymore. They're just going to be a minor addition from what I've read so far. So what about cells? These powerful upgrades aren't going away, but their function is changing slightly. Right now, cells make up too large a portion of player power. Often they are more important than the gears they are slotted into. In the Shattered Isles, cells will allow Slayers to emphasise different parts of their build rather than completely redefine them. The first major change is that cells will only be slotted into armour pieces. Chests and leg armors will have 2 slots, while helms and gloves will have 1. All slots can hold cells of any type. The second major change is that all cells will be converted to the appropriate number of +1s. We're also exploring new ways for players to earn the cells they want without randomization from cores or the middleman. Some options include offering low power cells in the reward cache and higher power cells in the research lab and lucky break. Our partners and testers have already provided some good feedback on the consumption of cells and how that can lead to unfun play patterns. So, we'll take that feedback into the next phase of development and continue working with the Dauntless community to find the sweet spot. The third major change is that perks won't grow in power from level 1 to 6, but will instead have a threshold that activates the perk. Let's look at some more examples. The Knockout King perk gives you plus 30% stagger damage, threshold 4. You'll need 4 points of Knockout King to get that bonus stagger damage. If you only have 3, no bonus. If you have 5, it's still plus 30%. Tough gives you plus 4 vitality with threshold 2. You'll need 2 points of tough to get the additional vitality. To reach those thresholds ranging from 2 to 8, you'll want to use creative combinations of armor pieces and cells. Each piece of armor will offer some points by default. Usually a complete set of armor from a behemoth will be enough to activate a couple of perks, but mixing and matching them will allow for even more efficiency. Okay, so this all sounds very confusing, but in actuality, the whole system is going to be simplified. So imagine how our current system would have sounded if they were trying to explain it to us all those years ago. Moving on, and we're getting there, this is a long vlog. The past is in the future. Of course, many slayers may wonder what will become of their gear they've worked on hard to earn in Dauntless. While we're moving forward with a new design for the weapon progression, we are committed to honouring those achievements. So all existing weapons that aren't getting a direct upgrade, like the Silver Sword, will continue to be usable if you already have them, without talents and the increased level cap. However, these weapons won't be as powerful as the new ones. A deadly arsenal, with unique weapons, customizable talents and cell perks. While we aren't quite ready to give away all of the exciting new weapon abilities for the new Shattered Isles, we do love speculation. Here's a list of the 21 planned weapons for launch, and a small bonus. So we have the Silver Sword, the Hunger, the Thunder Soul, the God Hand, Firestorm, Living Branch, Molten Edict, the Anvil, Skies of Ostia, the Golden Claws, Junk Bolt, Oathkeepers, the Reaper's Edge, Fury of the Mountain, Eternal Winter, Twin Suns, Corrupted Moons, Helio and Aeon, Bane and Balm, Netherlight, To and Fro, and later, the Phoenix Wing. So your feedback, thank you for those slayers who have participated in the recent playtest. Soon we'll be preparing for the second round of playtests with more content, more systems and more players. So stay connected to the Dauntless Discord and find out more. So that was a lot of information. And it might sound a little bit overwhelming, a little bit complicated, but it actually sounds like they're going to be tapping into a much simpler system than we currently have. So to help me summarise this devlog and the changes that are coming to Dauntless, I've recruited the help of GioEra, who has an excellent YouTube channel and has a far greater understanding of creating builds than I do. If you're looking to create or improve current Dauntless builds, I'd highly recommend checking out Gio's channel. I'll leave a link in the description below.
So, coming this summer, there's going to be a massive update in Dauntless, which changes everything from weapons, armors, cores, buffs, and most importantly, progression. Today in Dauntless we have a reforging system that allows slayers to level up from level 1 to level 20. And once you hit level 20, you can reforge and start anew. But unfortunately for some, and fortunately for others, the system is going to be changed coming this summer with the next big update. Previously, when you had to reach level 20 to reforge any weapon, and now the devs are implementing a new system, and it's basically like this. As far as I know, you can upgrade every weapon from level 1 to level 60, unlocking talents every 10 levels. To further customize your weapons, each one has an array of available talents. Each talent can offer a bonus to that weapon's abilities, or a permanent bonus to the slayer's buffs. For now, slayers can unlock one talent in each line when that weapon reaches level 10, level 20, level 30, level 40, and level 50. Unlocking a talent will require a variety of behemoth parts, but once it's unlocked, you can switch to it freely while in Ramsgate. While it's possible to unlock every possible talent, you can only have 3 active talents at a time. We can expect these talents to be on 21 new weapons, and they're going to be adding new ones further down the line. But what about the old weapons, you say? They will still have the old system with a max level of level 20, and without any talents. While level 50 gives you all of the weapons talents, you can also reach level 60, which is the highest power in Dauntless, and it's the highest it's ever been before. Plus, each weapon levels individually, not as in 7 archetypes. So Slayers will need a reliable way to boost newly crafted gear. And so, how do you craft them and how do you upgrade the weapons? Well, basically that they're going to be adding a new currency, which is going to be called Aetherite, and you can get this new currency from the hunts, escalations, trials, and all those kind of things. And you also can get this Aetherite from petrol chests and other treasure couches that they're going to be adding in the next update. But a good Slayer can't only focus on the power and the weapons. They're going to be changing armors too. After this update, each individual piece of armor will increase from level 1 to level 20. With each level, the armor will grant more resistance and improved perks. Personally, I really like this idea and the direction the devs are taking Dauntless. As you know, build crafting is essential to the Dauntless, and implementing this new feature will give us more ideas to create more interesting and fun builds for the future. So we don't have to run one meta build every time and might get bored because of it. Also, this feature plus the new weapon swapping feature that's coming also in the next update will give us more opportunities to make more interesting and fun builds. But that is just my opinion, so let us know what you guys think about the new progression. Do you like it? Do you hate it? How would you change it? Let us know down in the comments.
So yeah, as GioEra stated, leave your thoughts on the new progression system in the comments section below, or alternatively head over to his channel, share your thoughts with him. He's got some wonderful content. I definitely recommend it. So I'm glad Gio had some positive thoughts on the changes that are coming to Dauntless. Personally, I had some early frustrations, but after reading through the blog and some content online, I do feel like this is a step in the right direction. Currently, I feel like the reforge system can be repetitive and there's a heavy reliance on cells for builds, but by returning to the roots of monster hunting style games, you're again relying heavily on weapons and armours that you craft from behemoths, which is a good thing. Okay, so moving on away from the weapon and armour progression system that will be coming to Dauntless. And now we're going to break up the video by looking at what will be, essentially, the new behemoth coming to the Shattered Isles. And it's been a long time since they added a behemoth to the Shattered Isles, the last one being GioEra, I think it's pronounced. Yeah, that was the last behemoth that was added to the game, which was quite a while ago. I mean, you're talking about a year ago, I think, give or take. Okay, so codename Crudge is the name of the new behemoth, or the project that they're working on of the new behemoth. And it was a community-driven behemoth which some of the dev team created via a live stream with input from the Dauntless player base, which is a great idea. It's absolutely wonderful. I wish more games would, dev companies would do this. So the plan was to release this behemoth as part of the next season, way back in 2022, but they never did it because, as we know, the dev team took a step away from Dauntless to focus on other projects. But now that they're coming back this summer, they've stated in a recent Q&A that they are going to be releasing this behemoth shortly after, or along with, the new update. So this is very exciting. So this gives us a chance to look at this new behemoth and talk about what we can expect, what we think it's going to be, just all aspects of this new behemoth, because it's exciting. It's been so long since we had a new behemoth and it's something new to focus on. And as I stated at the intro, we're joined by a special guest who's going to help us talk about this new behemoth, PheonixArtea, who doesn't upload regularly to social media or YouTube, but has a really brilliant account in Dauntless. PheonixArtea is regularly in the leaderboards in Dauntless for trials, has some absolutely awesome builds, and has helped me on numerous occasions with various quests and other things in Dauntless. For example, the Dark Harvest Crown, which took me hundreds and hundreds of attempts. That's where I met Phoenix. Phoenix helped me gain the crown after so much time trying to get it back during the Dark Harvest event. So thank you very much, Phoenix, for joining me on the podcast to talk about the new behemoth coming to Dauntless, Crudge.
Okay, so first, thanks for having me. Really appreciate. I've been a long time watcher of the show, and I'm really liking these podcasts. I think there's a lot to look forward to in Dauntless, so it's very exciting.
Well, thank you for joining. So I remember you said a while back that you found an interesting read on Reddit which introduces some of the background lore of Crudge, and you know we love lore on this channel, so...
During my travels to the Umbral Depths, I came across a very peculiar behemoth. The Crudge is an Umbral scavenger that makes Dark Depths its home, utilising materials from the above world. Living within the wreckages of the skyships, a shelter from the larger predators, it caught off guard away from its home. The Crudge can burrow into the ground and appear as a pile of rubble. Okay, so I remember watching a live stream back those years ago and re-looking at the artwork here. I think we're going to have some kind of insectoid behemoth, but one with a very low vibration, very low sound about it. I think it's really great that the community had a say in this behemoth. It looks a little bit of many different behemoths put together. You can see so many different imaginations coming together to create this, and it's very interesting to see.
Oh yeah, it's definitely great when the community comes together to create something towards the game, in this case, a new behemoth. It's a shame that they didn't release it back when they planned, but it's exciting to know that they do plan on releasing this with or shortly after the update in summer. So just a bit more about the behemoth. How do you think it'll attack? What do you think it's going to be doing to us poor slayers who are hunting it?
In terms of the way of attack, although it's an umbral behemoth, I can see it having similarities to the spore-struck cherub with AoE poisonous type damage. I mean, it's an insect after all. Obviously I can see it's going to shoot some kind of projectiles as well. Some kind of sludge. I think I remember reading on Reddit and the developers saying, so it's going to shoot projectiles as well. It's going to be quite slow for the most part, but I can see it moving quickly at times as well. I also think it's not going to be one of the most powerful behemoths out there. I don't think every behemoth that gets added to Dauntless has to be so powerful. I think having some average behemoths in the background is really nice to just add to the world and lore of Dauntless.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, we look back to, the Savite, which it's one of my favourite behemoths out there, but it wasn't one of the most powerful. It was just very unique, it was very cool, and it was a great behemoth to encounter just out on random hunting grounds or in escalations. So yeah, definitely, not every new behemoth needs to be extremely overpowered or, a huge threat to the Shattered Isles. It's just good to add more lore and depth to the world, definitely. Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I can see it having similarities to the Spore-struck Charog. I think AoE damage and poisonous umbral sludge of sorts and projectiles shooting out of it, and yeah, you're right, it'll be a lumbering, slow behemoth, but with that insect speed about it. Yeah, definitely, totally agree with that. Great point.
But yeah, so many different imaginations together, a big jumbled mess of a behemoth. Nothing wrong with that. Umbral in element, insect in type. I think it's going to have AoE damage, projectile damage. Very interesting.
Yeah, totally. And here's hoping they actually release it. It would be quite disappointing if it came along and they didn't, they delayed it or something like that. But hopefully they are working on it and it will be added to the game shortly. But no, thank you so much for joining the podcast, PheonixArtea. We've spoke many times ever since you joined the guild. You've added me so much guidance, you've helped me in so many different events in Dauntless, so thank you again for your help. You raise a lot of really interesting points about this new behemoth, and honestly I'm just looking forward to seeing it in action. So, the next section of this video, and probably one of the most important things, is why do we play Dauntless? What do we enjoy about the game? What brings us back to the game? And what are some of our favourite memories? I mean, there's frustrations in the community, there's glitches, there's bugs, there's server downtime, there's developers that sometimes listen, but sometimes don't, and sometimes state they're going to do things, which they don't. In the past year, for example, we've had pretty much no content added to the game whatsoever. But here we are, the remaining loyal player base. Why are we here? What do we enjoy about the game? Let's talk about it. In preparation for this podcast, I put out a questionnaire on my community feed on YouTube and on X. Here I ask, tell me why you enjoy Dauntless, tell me what brings you back to the game, tell me your favourite Dauntless memories, and tell me what you see for the future of Dauntless. In response, I received some pretty good answers, so let's take a look. So first up, we've got PheonixArtea, and that's the same PheonixArtea who was on the show earlier. They state, I enjoy the grind, the variety of behemoths, and the world and the community. When answering what brings them back to the game, they state that they've not left. When answering what their favourite Dauntless memories are, they state probably back when old Ramsgate was under threat and we had to take part in a community event to try save it. I totally agree with your first answer. I enjoy the grind, the variety of the behemoths, the world and the community. In reference to your third answer, now I'm going to come clean here. I was on a bit of a hiatus from the game back there and I completely missed that time, and it's one of my biggest regrets, so I'm glad that you really enjoyed it. I do miss old Ramsgate and it saddens me that I wasn't around during the time when everyone was fighting together to try save it. I hope there's more community events in the future just like that. Great answer, PheonixArtea. And then we have the and I'm assuming they're referring to the unseen going by their profile pic. I enjoy creating builds and then how satisfying it can be to land critical one-shots. Though I worry I won't be able to do that after the big update. I went on a hiatus, just like well, I've done that before, as I've just stated, a few years ago, and the Reforge brought me back. Best memory was when I had all my guild in 2020. A lot of fun nights were had. And what a brilliant answer. I can see how you can be a bit cautious about the big update because the developers have stated that they're going to be completely changing the progression system and the hunts are going to be more difficult, which is going to stop a lot of players from one-shot kills. However, the Dauntless player base finds a way, and I can only imagine it won't take very long for many players to eventually establish builds that are going to be completely overpowered, just as they did in the past, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I think the Reforge update was a great reason to come back, and hopefully this Shattered Isles update in the summer will be a reason to come back for many other players. And your best memory when you stated that having your guild in 2020, I mean that's so relatable. I was just talking about this with a friend the other day, and it might sound bad, but the 2020 COVID lockdowns were brilliant for gaming. I know it was a perilous time for many, and I know many people still had to go to work, but much of the world, gaming, streaming, content creating, became their life. I mean, creating this YouTube channel and playing Dauntless and meeting people on that game really helped me with my mental health during that time. And MMOs, online communities and guilds were all thriving during that time, so I don't blame you for looking back on that with warm memories. I think it's safe to say that Dauntless was in its prime during those years as well. Next up we have the wonderful Shireen Plays. As you know, Shireen joined us during episode 3 of the Dauntless discussion last month. I'll reiterate, please go and check out Shireen's channel, who covers a lot of Dauntless content. Shireen states, I love experimenting with builds, discovering new lore and unlocking cosmetics and the reward cachet by completing challenges. I mean, you can't really argue with that, can you? That is why we play the game. Creating these wonderful builds with so many different possibilities, discovering new lore locations and seeing the depth this game has to offer, and the cosmetics. Great answer, Shireen, thank you. And then we have WH1MSIC4L, who states, to be honest, I like the escalations because of the random behemoths you get. Also the last behemoth are always cool to look at. Yeah, definitely. Escalations are a great part of Dauntless. They're like the dungeons for most MMOs, and the legendary behemoths are the most unique and fearsome and have some of the best art styles of all behemoths. Now finally, I've left the best answer for last, and we've got Monty X, who just states, pets. I mean, what a brilliant answer, Monty. We talked about pets briefly in episode 3 and I have a whole video dedicated to it that I released a few weeks ago, and I still think it's something that's going to be added to the game, so fingers crossed here for you, Monty X. Now these are all pretty damn good answers, and you cover a lot of really good key information as to what you enjoy about Dauntless, what your favourite memories are, and what brings you back. For me personally, it's a difficult one. Why do I enjoy Dauntless? Like many of you, I enjoy the community, I enjoy the world, I enjoy the lore, I like the art styles of all of the behemoths and how unique they can all be. It's just a game that resonates with me no matter what mood I'm in, whether I'm stressed or whether I'm in a good mood or whether I've got time or whether I've only got a little bit of time. It's a game that you can just jump in and play, and sometimes play for hours on end. I've also met so many great people in the game who've helped me get through difficult events and quests, therefore distracting me from some difficult events going on in my life at times. So yeah, there's many reasons I enjoy this game. I can see there's so much more potential in the game, and I hope the developers utilise this in the future. Well, what brings me back to the game? Well, it can be two things. Sometimes I just get a feeling that I want to play the game again, and before you know it I'm sucked right in again. And others, it's content updates, and that's desperately what this game needs, and thankfully it's finally happening. Third question, what are my favourite memories? Again, a very difficult one to narrow down, So what I've got is some clips here of funny memories and good memories I have of this game. This is way back when I got my friends into the game and I wasn't a very established player and they were very, very unestablished.
Yeah, I'm about to get a mode based up.
Right here is when I stated to my friend, who was the worst at the game, that this was his moment. He could do this, he could kill this thing. It was really good to share moments like that with these guys. They don't play anymore, but we've got some good memories of the game. And you can't talk about good Dauntless memories without talking about some of the glitches you get.
Hey, I'm doing it! I'm doing it! I've made it! I have peaked. I have peaked. I am content now. This game is just perfect. You are one with your
And then who
kind.
can forget Dark Harvest 2020 when the developers seriously misbalanced the amount of items you can get from the in-game event.
You got the same spot, though.
I still have several thousand pumpkin transmogs from that event. It's crazy. However, my favourite Dauntless memory is when I finally got the Dark Harvest crown. And that was only last October. It took me years and years of Dark Harvest events to get this crown. I tried so many times, it was very, very difficult. There was actually conspiracy theories online that it was actually impossible to get and the developers had somehow glitched the game. But no, it was just extremely, extremely difficult. I met many different players on that journey. Some pleasant, some very, very unpleasant and very desperate to get that crown. Finally I was matched with a brilliant team who all played their part and we got the crown. And we had a party in Ramsgate for several hours afterwards, celebrating. I still keep in touch with them sometimes. Okay, so I think a perfect way to finish this podcast is to answer the final question. How do we think the future of Dauntless is going to play out? I believe it purely depends on the passion and time the developers put into the game. Dauntless doesn't need to be as big as Fortnite or World of Warcraft, for example. I looked at other MMOs, like the Lord of the Rings Online, for example, a game that has gone on for a very long time. It doesn't have the biggest player base, it doesn't get the most views on YouTube and Twitch, but it has a very consistent community because developers respect the lore and they add to the game every chance they get. Now I hope this big update brings back many players, and lots of new players come along as well. However, eventually after the summer and into the end of the year, the fanfare is going to die down a little bit and we'll be right back where we started. And it really depends on what the devs put into the game from here on out, whether there's going to be a future to this game or not. And I hope it does, I hope it lives on. Like Lord of the Rings Online, like old school RuneScape, like Warframe for example. However, there's one thing that's very clear, the devs can't do what they've done the past year again. So many players have fallen off, and I can see if they do that again, then it won't survive that the next time. But despite that, there's a lot of excitement on the horizon. There's big updates, there's planned content, it's an exciting time to be a Dauntless player. And on that note, I think this is a perfect place to finish this episode. Thank you all for joining me if you've made it this far. I'd like to give another shout out to GioEra, who took the time to put together a little clip giving his opinion on the new weapon and gear progression system, as well as PheonixArtea, who joined the podcast to talk about codename Crudge, the new Behemoth. Please go and check out their channels, check out their content, you won't regret it. If you are new to this channel, please feel free to like, subscribe, but until next time, see you later.